You ever notice how breakups don't always feel like pain at first? Sometimes the ending feels like air, like finally exhaling after holding your breath too long. It's weird. You expect heartbreak, but instead there's peace. No more pressure. No more adjusting your pace to someone else's. No more guilt for needing space. Just stillness. And that stillness, it convinces her that this was the right move. That nothing got lost, only weight got lifted. From your side, it looks like freedom worked. She's glowing, unbothered, busy, posting, laughing, and you sit there wondering how it all flipped so easily for her. How somebody who once needed you now moves like you were never part of her equation. That's the part that hits hardest. Not just the silence, but how quickly her life seems to refocus. You start to question yourself. Did it even matter to her? Did I misread everything? Meanwhile, your reality crashes through instantly. You wake up alone with a weird emptiness in your routine. Her toothbrush is gone, but the muscle memory of turning toward her side of the bed, still there. Quiet hits different when it used to be conversation. Meals taste flat. Music shifts from background noise to emotional triggers. Your mind doesn't get a break, everything's a reminder. Her laugh in your head on loop. Her favorite sweatshirt still folded like she might come back for it, but she doesn't. You feel it right away, because you built your connection through presence, structure, showing up. That's how men often love, in the rhythm, in the doing. And when that rhythm's broken, you don't just miss her, you miss the system your life moved through. She was the pattern, and without it, you're unanswered. But her mind doesn't process it like that. Not yet. She feels unclipped, unobstructed. She tells herself this is clarity. She has space to think, time to breathe. And it feels great for now, because no one talks about that high, the breakup high. The feeling of release. The surge of I'm finally choosing me, and she rides it like it's truth. Only it isn't the absence of love she's feeling, it's the absence of pressure. And that can look and feel an awful lot like peace until time pulls the mask off. So while you're dealing with the void and trying not to spiral, she's just getting introduced to the first wave of lightness. She's barely stepped into grief's waiting room, and you've already been living in it for weeks. That gap, that timeline mismatch, it messes with you. Because you're hurting in real time, and from the outside, it looks like she never even slowed down. But what's really happening is this: your grief came early. Hers just hasn't landed yet. She starts running the numbers in her head. If this was wrong, I'd feel bad. I don't feel bad. Therefore, I made the right call. What she's actually experiencing isn't clarity. It's distraction wearing a really convincing disguise. Novelty numbs everything. It's nature's anesthesia. You don't heal under it. You just forget to check the wound. Suddenly her calendar's packed. New people texting. Old friends resurfacing. Hobbies she abandoned are back in rotation. Maybe she books a trip, joins a class, reinvents her look, starts saying yes to everything she used to decline because it didn't fit the rhythm you two had, and every single yes feels like evidence. See? I'm good. Better than good. I'm actually thriving out here. Her energy skyrockets because expansion always feels like progress. It's intoxicating. She's discovering parts of herself she forgot existed, and maybe that's real. Maybe she did lose some of herself in the relationship. But what she's not accounting for is this: she's comparing two completely different things. Excitement versus stability, sparks versus steady ground. They're not even in the same category, but she's treating them like one's the upgrade of the other. Meanwhile, you've been walking through actual fire. The grief didn't ask permission, it just moved in. You've spent weeks dissecting every conversation, rewinding moments trying to find where it broke, wondering if you missed a sign, if you said the wrong thing, if you could have fought harder or let go sooner. That process gutted you, but it also gave you something she doesn't have yet: a head start. While she's floating on the surface, you've already sunk to the bottom and started the slow climb back up. You're not healed, but you're healing. You're not over it, but you're processing it. And processing is movement, even when it doesn't feel like it. She doesn't know this yet, but the cost always comes. The bill doesn't disappear just because it hasn't printed. Right now, she's living on borrowed emotional time, spending energy she thinks is free. And the universe, it keeps perfect records. Sooner or later, the invoice shows up. It always does. What makes this dangerous for her is the delay creates false confidence. Every week that passes without pain reinforces the story. Months stack up. Life looks full, feels full. She stops thinking about you daily. Then, weekly. Your name becomes a reference point instead of a wound, and she interprets that as proof, definitive proof, that leaving was correct. But she's mistaking the absence of immediate consequence for permanent escape, and those two things, they've never been the same. It starts small, so small she doesn't even register it as a problem. She's out with someone new, conversations flowing, he's attractive, successful, says the right things, but then he misses something, some small detail she mentioned 2 weeks ago. Nothing major, just a thing she cared about that didn't stick in his memory. And for a split second, something twitches in her chest. She brushes it off. People forget stuff, it's not a big deal. But the twitch happened, the comparison got made. Because you never forgot. You remembered her coffee order after she mentioned it once, remembered her mom's name, her deadline at work, the song she couldn't get out of her head. You paid attention without making it a performance. A week later, she's having a deep conversation with someone else. It's good, meaningful even, but she notices she's working harder than she expected, explaining herself more, clarifying what she means, rewording things so they land right. The depth is there, but it requires effort. And effort, when you're used to ease, feels like friction. Another comparison files itself away. With you, understanding didn't need scaffolding. Communication wasn't translation. She could say half a sentence and you catch the rest. Now she's speaking full paragraphs and still feeling only partially heard, not misunderstood exactly, just not fully gotten. These moments keep stacking, quietly. A guy who talks more than he listens. Another who's emotionally available on his terms but distant on hers. Someone who's exciting but unreliable. Or reliable but boring. Or interested but inconsistent. None of them are bad. That's the confusing part. On paper, they're fine. Some are even great. But in practice, something's off. Something she can't name yet. What she doesn't realize is she's building a reference library. Every new interaction gets measured against a baseline she didn't consciously set. And that baseline, it's you. Not the version of you she argued with or felt restricted by. The version that showed up, that stayed consistent, that made her feel secure without her having to ask for it. The frustrating part is nothing's dramatically wrong with these new people. There's no smoking gun. No obvious flaw she can point to and say, that's why this isn't working. They're just not hitting a mark she didn't know existed until now, and you can't explain that to someone. You can't say, you're great, but you're not operating at the frequency I got used to. So she keeps trying, keeps giving chances, keeps hoping the next one will feel different, but the comparisons don't stop. They multiply, get more specific, more stubborn, and slowly, without permission, the past starts getting rewritten. The things that annoyed her about you start shrinking. The reasons she left start needing more justification, and the foundation underneath all that surface stuff, it starts looking a lot more valuable than it did when she was standing on it. Memory plays tricks. It's not a camera recording exactly what happened. It's a storyteller that reshapes the past depending on where you're standing now. And right now, she's standing somewhere different, somewhere that makes the old story read completely different than it did before. Right after the breakup, her mind highlighted every reason she needed out. The tension got amplified, the frustrations got magnified, the moments where she felt stuck or unseen, those played on repeat. Her brain needed that narrative. It justified the exit, made the decision feel necessary instead of just chosen. But time has a way of shifting the lens. The things that once felt massive start losing their charge. Arguments that seemed unforgivable now feel like normal friction. Incompatibilities that looked permanent now seem like two people still learning each other. The story she told herself about why it ended, it's getting harder to believe with the same conviction. What's rising to the surface now are different memories. Ones that didn't make the original highlight reel because they weren't dramatic enough. Mornings where nothing special happened but everything felt right. Evenings where the silence wasn't awkward, it was comfortable. The way you check on her without being asked. How your presence didn't demand anything. It just existed, solid, reliable, quiet. Those moments didn't feel significant then because they didn't spike emotions. They didn't create stories worth telling friends. But now, surrounded by inconsistency, they stand out like landmarks. She's realizing that peace doesn't announce itself. It just sits there, and you don't notice it until chaos replaces it. She starts remembering your patience. How you didn't need constant validation. how you didn't make everything about yourself, how you could hold space for her bad days without making her feel guilty for having them. These weren't flashy qualities. They didn't make her heart race, but they made her feel safe. And safety, once gone, leaves a specific kind of emptiness. The irony stings. She left because it didn't feel like enough, not exciting enough, not passionate enough, not whatever movies and songs told her it should be. But now she's swimming in excitement, discovering it doesn't keep her warm, doesn't hold her when things get hard. It doesn't show up the same way twice. She's not romanticizing you. That's what she tells herself, at least. She's just seeing clearly now. Seeing that what you offered wasn't ordinary. It just looked ordinary because it didn't need to perform. You weren't trying to impress her. You were just being present, and presence, she's learning, is rarer than she ever understood. There's no villain in this story. You didn't betray her. She didn't destroy anything on purpose. The relationship just got misread. Stability got mistaken for boredom. Consistency got confused with predictability, and by the time she understood what she was actually holding, her hands were already empty. This is where it gets complicated. When relationships explode betrayal, lies, something unforgivable grief has a target. There's a villain to blame, a clear wrong to point at. Anger has somewhere to land. The pain makes sense because someone caused it. But this has no target, no enemy, no obvious mistake she can wrap her frustration around. Just a slow, creeping awareness that she let go of something valuable before she understood what she was holding. And that awareness doesn't come with rage. It comes with responsibility. The heaviest kind, not guilt exactly. Responsibility, the understanding that nothing was done to her. She did this to herself. The door didn't slam because of your actions. It closed because of her blindness. And you can't stay angry at blindness once you start seeing clearly. You can only carry the weight of knowing you missed what was right in front of you. She finds herself in a strange emotional position, grieving something she chose to walk away from, missing what she actively rejected, wanting back what she once called insufficient. The contradictions twist together and create something impossible to untangle. How do you process regret for a decision that felt right at the time? Who does she even talk to about this? The friends who cheered when she left? They'd look at her strange if she admitted she was wrong. The new people in her life? They don't need to hear about you. There's no audience for this kind of regret. No support group for people who threw away something good and only realized it later, so it stays locked inside. A private weight she carries alone. It surfaces during quiet moments, long drives, late nights. Those minutes before sleep when the brain refuses to shut down. When distractions aren't available and she's forced to sit with what's actually true. And then there's your silence. It does something she never expected. Every day you don't reach out confirms the finality. No mixed messages to decode. No breadcrumbs giving false hope. No door left slightly open. Just clean, complete absence. A void where connection used to exist. That void speaks louder than words ever could. It doesn't argue or explain. It just demonstrates. Life moved on. Your chapter closed. What was once available got taken off the table permanently, and that message delivered without drama or confrontation sinks deeper than any angry conversation could. She realizes there's no fixing this, no apology that undoes time, no conversation that rewinds the clock. The loss isn't something that can be repaired through effort or intention. It just exists now, a permanent mark on her timeline, a lesson written in disappearing ink that only became readable after the moment to act had passed. Immediate heartbreak lets you scream. Delayed loss makes you sit in silence with the understanding that you did this. And sitting with that, that's heavier than any external wound could ever be. Months keep passing, maybe longer. The sharp edge of delayed loss eventually dulls into something flatter. Not quite pain anymore, more like permanent awareness. A quiet shift in how she sees everything connected to relationships. Nothing dramatic happened. She just changed from the inside out. She moves differently now, not wounded, not scared, just awake in ways she wasn't before. Impulse doesn't drive her decisions anymore. Something steadier took its place. She pauses before leaping, questions what used to seem obvious, trusts less easily. Not from bitterness, from experience. New people enter her world and she watches them differently. The charm that once dazzled her now gets examined. Small words get tested against actions. Promises mean nothing until they're proven over time. She's hunting for consistency before chemistry, reliability before romance. The order flipped completely. Intensity used to impress her. Now it triggers suspicion. She's learned that fire burns hot and dies fast. What she wants now is warmth that lasts. Someone who shows up the same way on boring Tuesdays as exciting Saturdays. The qualities she dismissed before now sit at the top of her list. Every person approaching her now faces an invisible test. They're competing against a memory they know nothing about, measured against the standard set by someone who's long gone. And most fall short, not because they're bad people, because they're being compared to something she only recognized after losing it. Here's what you'll never witness. This transformation happened without you watching. By the time she evolved, your life had already rebuilt itself entirely. The space she occupied didn't stay vacant like a shrine, it got repurposed, transformed into something useful. Growth happened that had nothing to do with her presence or absence. Your early grief gave you an advantage she didn't have. Pain arrived when everything still felt fresh. You processed the loss while the relationship still mattered enough to feel its weight. That meant healing started sooner. Integration happened faster. You metabolized the hurt before it could become permanent damage. Her timeline ran backwards. Relief came first, discovery followed. Understanding arrived late, regret showed up last. That reverse sequence means she's entering grief territory you already left behind. You're miles ahead on the healing path while she's just finding the trailhead. The cruel part is there's no meeting point anymore. No moment where both of you exist in the same emotional space simultaneously. No window where wanting aligns for both sides. Your timelines diverged and kept diverging. Movement in opposite directions creates distance that desire alone cannot bridge. She senses this without needing confirmation. The opening that existed once has sealed shut, not through anger or resentment. Through simple forward motion, you kept building, life kept happening, and happening without looking backwards eventually becomes a closed door that no amount of knocking can reopen. Something permanent got created, not the relationship itself that's gone. What stayed is what it taught her about what's actually possible between two people. An invisible marker got planted, a reference point that exists whether she wants it there or not. Everything new gets measured against it automatically. Someone promises to call and doesn't follow through. Instantly her mind goes back to how you never broke small commitments. Another person claims they're listening but asks questions you'd never need to ask. The contrast hits without warning. She didn't summon the comparison, it just appeared. Conversations require maintenance now, constant effort to stay connected. She remembers when understanding flowed without work, when she could speak in shorthand and still feel completely received. That ease seems impossible to recreate, like trying to return to a city that got demolished while she was away. Support comes with strings attached now, subtle expectations underneath the kindness. She remembers when your care arrived freely. No scoreboard, no keeping track of who gave what, just genuine presence without conditions. Finding that again feels like searching for something extinct. This isn't nostalgia making the past glow falsely. She's clear about that. You weren't perfect. Jardi, Hain, Hardy, Hain. The relationship had real problems. She's not pretending otherwise. But contrast reveals truth that memory alone cannot. Certain things only become visible when you're standing next to their opposite. The lesson doesn't chain her to yesterday. Ironically, it pushes her forward with higher demands. Tolerance for inconsistency dropped dramatically. Patience for potential that never materializes ran dry. She refuses to accept situations that don't meet the standard she now knows exists. That standard came directly from you. Future connections face a more difficult entry point because of this. The bar sits higher than before. Not impossibly high, just elevated enough that clearing it requires genuine substance. Surface level appeal stopped being sufficient. She needs proof now, evidence over time. Words backed by repeated action. Your image stayed frozen in a specific state. No new arguments to damage it. No fresh disappointments to erode its edges. Silence preserved what existed instead of letting continued contact wear it down. The version of you she carries forward remains clean, untouched by additional friction. Returning wouldn't work even if the chance appeared. Done. Both people became different versions of themselves. Circumstances evolved beyond recognition. The conditions that originally created the connection disappeared permanently. Time moves strictly forward. People don't reverse their growth. What survived is the imprint, the shape of what was pressed into who she's becoming. It doesn't control her choices, doesn't limit her options, just whispers quietly when decisions appear, a subtle influence shaping every future evaluation of whether someone adds genuine value or simply occupies empty space. That imprint never fully fades. It becomes part of her operating system, integrated so deeply she forgets it came from somewhere, from someone, from you, and that integration lasts long after the source has moved beyond caring whether it happened. No dramatic conclusion arrives. Delayed loss doesn't wrap itself in a satisfying finale. There's no climax where someone shows up at a doorstep with tearful confessions. No speeches that fix what broke. Everything just settles into its final position without ceremony. She carries the understanding forward now. You continue wherever life took you. The distance between these two trajectories became normal, not painful anymore, just factual, like the distance between two cities on a map, something that exists without requiring comment. Sometimes reaching out crosses her mind. The thought surfaces during low moments, after disappointing dates, during sleepless nights when the present feels shaky. When loneliness gets loud enough to override logic, her fingers hover over your name. The message gets drafted mentally, then deleted before it exists. She knows reaching out accomplishes nothing useful now. It wouldn't rebuild what collapsed. It would only highlight how far apart everything drifted. Confirmation of change doesn't serve anyone when both lives already integrated that change completely. So the impulse dies before becoming action. Silence continues naturally, not as punishment, not as game playing, as the genuine state of two lives that split and stayed split. No bitterness underneath, no secret hopes being protected, just completion that showed up softly and refused to leave. Closure stays overrated anyway, rarely possible. Often just a story people tell themselves. What she takes away isn't some neat ending tied with ribbon. What she takes is vision, clear sight about what matters, what's uncommon, what deserves protection before it disappears. That vision walks beside her into whatever comes next, influences how she listens to new people, how long she waits before trusting, how she separates those who add substance from those who just fill silence. The lesson became permanent equipment. The teacher vanished long ago. Your growth stopped requiring witnesses. Didn't need her eventual understanding to validate anything. Building something solid from rubble, then living inside that structure, without backward glances, that was always the point. Recognition from her was never the goal. Both people ended up reshaped by identical experiences. But reshaping serves separate lives now. The connection mattered while it existed. The loss cut deep enough to teach, the education completed, and life with its relentless momentum continued regardless. Nothing cruel about it, nothing unfair either, just thorough, complete in ways that don't ask for approval. Certain chapters refuse resolution, they only offer distance, and distance given sufficient time becomes its own conclusion. One that stopped hurting ages ago, but also stopped reopening. Understanding landed after timing made it useless for changing the past, just early enough to reshape everything forward. Sometimes that's the only available outcome. Quiet acceptance that timing matters beyond what we wish, that certain value announces itself only after departure made seeing it possible. Stories end when both people stop waiting for different feelings. That ending lacks drama, lacks satisfaction, but holds more honesty than any alternative. Subscribe if silence ever taught you what words couldn't.